You're listening to Safari Scoop, where we take you inside the heart of Africa, one story at a time. I am Baraka.
And I am Magreth. Today we are bringing you another quick look into the wildlife moments and magic that makes African safari truly unforgettable.
Welcome to another episode, and today we'll be talking about the health benefits of going on a safari.
My name is Maggie.
And I am Baraka, and let's just dive into it. What if your doctor wrote African safari on a prescription pad? Would you feel it?
Well, yeah, I would definitely feel it.
Sign me up. I'll be like, Doc,
Yeah.
sign me up.
I'm all in for it.
Absolutely. So, we're going to talk about the science backed benefits of going on a safari. Things like, helping you with stress, sleep, mental clarity, and even the physical health and building relationship kind of thing. So, we'll just kind of right into it. If you can paint a picture, what does it feel like when you go on a safari kind of thing?
Well, first, before I go on a safari is the excitement.
Mhm.
Excitement of what I'm going to experience because if you're going to say a restaurant or you're going to a club, you expect to have fun, drink some have some drinks, cocktails or something like that. And if you're going to a restaurant, you expect to have like good food, or you already have something in mind. Say, if I want to eat calamari, I know I'm going to eat calamari. Maybe it's a seafood restaurant. But if you are going to a safari, it's not, you don't have so much expectations, or you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because it's spontaneous. You see what you're going to see. That's why you can go on a safari today, you can go on a safari tomorrow, and the experiences will be totally, totally different. And in terms of learning something, you're going to learn something new every time you go in a different safari. So for me, it's usually the excitement of learning something new, but then just preparing my eyes for what my eyes are going to see.
Absolutely. So, I guess we have looked into some of the researchers, and one of the benefits that they have mentioned would be something like a deep digital detox. And I can attest to this because every time I go on a safari, actually prep everybody to let them know that first and foremost, I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to be away on a safari. So accessibility is going to be limited, which means I'm going to be detoxing from all the digital connectivities that we have on a day-to-day life, like having your phone connected, hearing a message come in or somebody calling you and things like that. But when you go on a safari, there's limited Wi-Fi. Some properties actually, specifically by design, decides not to have a Wi-Fi, or they only have Wi-Fi in the common areas. And why is this so? Is so that once you're in the wild, you actually are going to be in the wild to be there, to be present, and not being connected with the outside world. So getting all the distractions away from you and just being there, being present, and being observant of what is going on. I wonder if it's something like that have experienced as well.
Yeah. So I think a couple of months back I was having a conversation with my friends, and something popped up and I told them I just want to be, it's been a
Yeah.
long time since it was just me and nothing but the nature, And they were like, we don't really understand you, but I was like, I know what I want. So after going to a safari, I was in Serengeti and I was staying at a beautiful camp, the Jackal's Lair, and I was there for 5 days. And just every day, waking up in the morning, and just getting out of my tent, just seeing the sunrise, it made me feel good. It made me feel like I was new. It renewed me. And as for us creatives who are working in the creative space, we usually run out of ideas. especially if you're constantly, juggling between gigs here and there. So
Yep.
I was at that stage where I was running out of ideas. If I do this,
Yep.
it's not good enough. If I do this, it's bad. I'm
Yep.
constantly criticizing myself, even if other people are telling me it's good, and I'm like, no, this is not good. But after doing a safari in Serengeti and having those 5 days, of course, I had a little bit of internet, but the times that I was doing a safari out in the wild, there is no internet. So
Yep.
whether you like it or not, you want to touch your phone and you want to check Instagram or you want to check WhatsApp, there is no internet. So it was quite a nice detox for me, and I think it lifted my spirit, my creative spirit, because after that I could create better.
Actually, you nailed it perfectly, because that's actually another benefit of it too. It's that nature's rhythm and better sleep. Because when you're on a safari, you actually in tune yourself into the natural rhythm. Wake up just before dawn. You go on a sunrise game drive, and then you have like a quiet midday, and then you go and again for an afternoon game drive before you come back for early night, and then go for that dinner, sundowner, and then go once it gets darker, you go back to your tent and you go to sleep. Basically, that's kind of the natural rhythm that all our ancestors used to do back in the days before civilization became what it is now. So basically, that's just connecting to the circadian rhythm. For the early morning lights, it helps, reset the body clock, and then kind of dampens the melatonin at night time so that it supports, that deep sleep at night. So it I couldn't believe it. Like sometimes, being in the city, depending on where in the city you live, at nighttime you can hear, I don't know, sirens, or if you live near a major highway or major road, you can hear cars walking by. And sometimes we tune them out because that's what we're used to. But then when you go into the safari, you find yourself sleeping safe and sound, or sleeping like a baby, because you're into this nature. You become in tuned with the earth, in tune with your environment. And when the environment says it's time to go to sleep, you find your body is just kind of shutting down, ready to go to sleep. And then when it's just about to wake up, you feel like you're waking up in the morning ready, energetic. You have enough energy to kind of tackle the day and things like that. So it's basically one of the benefits for going on a safari as well.
Yeah. And for me, I would say that the being in the wild or being on a safari, it brings out the child in me, you know.
Yeah,
I remember back
yeah.
in the day,
Yeah.
when I was a child, before all this internet, social media and all that, we used to sit outside at night, and we used to talk to each other. Not like everyone is on their phone trying to text their friend or something like that. So
Mhm.
it brings out that, especially if you're traveling with a family, it brings out
Yep.
that childhood in us, that we need to talk to each other. And I've realized nowadays in the world, we don't even talk to each other that much. You're like, I'll just
No,
just
no,
text you, leave you
unfortunately,
a message. But if you're out there, and there's also no TV, but there's something called bush TV at night.
yep,
So whenever you're at the camp, they usually lit the bonfire, and you can all sit
yep.
together, and you have no choice but to talk to each other, you know?
Oh, absolutely,
I I
absolutely,
think that's
absolutely,
amazing. I think we don't get to
absolutely.
know each other, and we don't get to experience each other as we used to, because of the digital, the digital era. It's not a bad thing, but to detox from all that in a short period of time for, say, a 5 day safari, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really like the way you brought that, that big concept of our own, right? Because sometimes we get so into our heads and we forget that there's like this things that are bigger than us that when you go on safari you get to experience, and to be honest, this is one of the other benefits as well, to have that extremely mindfulness and awe when you're on a safari, because when you're on a game drive, basically it's like a mindfulness in disguise, because You're there listening for, animal sounds. You're listening for, I don't know, mating calls. You're scanning for footprints. You're watching the animals' body languages. Basically, your mind is in the present and it's listening and it's uh, looking for cues and it's trying to interpret what's going on, anticipating what's going to happen, and things like that. So you're right in the present rather than, waiting for some distractions to come and things like that. And as you said it yourself, you have that childhood wonder. I don't know if you can remember like the first time that you've seen an elephant or the first time you've heard a lion roar and things like that. And sometimes it brings back those memories of your childhood. Sitting maybe somewhere waiting for a river crossing to happen, and you're sitting there silently, waiting, and maybe sometimes wishing for an action to happen and things like that. So it's that, I don't know, like extreme mindfulness, like the sense of awe, the sense of wonder that brings calmness, brings some sort of kind of a meditative state of mind kind of thing. So one of the other benefits is, having general movements, fresh food, and hydration while you're on a safari. So Margaret, if you can let us know a little bit about that, and the experience that you've had while on a safari.
Yeah, one might think like if you're in a safari, you will not be active, but I'm telling you, you'll be very active, especially if you're doing a walking safari. You'll be active as in walking because you're walking like long distance. There are long and short distances, but you might find yourself, amazed with the wildlife or amazed with the views. And you might find yourself walking for like 4 or 5 kilometers, which is quite healthy to do it in a day. And while you're
Mhm.
walking, since Africa is in the tropical, I would say space, it's quite hot here, or sometimes it's chilly, maybe in the mornings. But you might quite need to hydrate while you're doing your walking safari. So that forces you
Mhm.
to drink more water. I'm a person
Yeah,
who doesn't drink water myself, but when I go on a walking safari, I end up finishing like
same
two
here.
liters.
Same
So
here. Same here.
yeah, it
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
forces you to be in a healthy to live a healthy lifestyle while still enjoying the nature. Yeah. So
What
I
about
think,
the food too?
oh my God, the food. Don't start with the food. You know I love food. So I've been to quite some other countries, but I've never been out of Africa. But I would say
Mhm.
the food is always the best here. Like you always have fresh food, and especially if you're doing like maybe Serengeti or Ngorongoro, because
Yeah.
the food comes straight from the farm. It's not like
Yes.
this.
Yes.
There are no preservatives in the food, and even when you taste the food, you're like, yes, this is the best. And from the guests that I've met so far, everybody has been commenting about the food. And, people always say, like, it's so expensive to do diet. But I'm like, it's so cheap. You can just go to the market and, and get some fresh veggies from the market. And I
Yeah.
think that's quite amazing because, the African culture is that you buy food for the day. We usually
Yeah.
don't buy food and keep it in the refrigerator for days or for
Yes.
you buy, if
Yes.
you want to buy meat, you go fresh and buy fresh meat. So the food is always fresh here, and I think that's one win in health benefits.
To be honest, having lived abroad for a number of years now, I would say one of the main things for food is having fresh foods. Here, you can eat, let's say, for instance, you can eat beef. I'm here in Canada, and you can eat beef from Australia. So as you can see, it's like on the other side of the world, whereby in Africa, mainly you're sourcing your food within, I would say, maybe 100 kilometers from where you live. So the food there seems to be a bit more fresh in terms of and locally sourced. So that kind of adds that the microbiome that are local within the area. So maybe that's also why a lot of people who go on a safari, they end up starting to get a little bit of traveler's diarrhea because they have to adjust to the microbiome that are found in the local area. But to be honest, the food is top notch, and especially the fresh fruits. Fruits are fresh, usually picked within maybe a day or two, or maybe up to like 3 days from the moment that they're being consumed. So it's what definitely one of the benefits for going on a safari. And another also benefit is connection and perspective. Because when you go on a safari, we use local guides. So from the moment you actually arrive, you are connected to somebody who is local within the area that you're going. So if you're in Kenya, you're going to have a local Kenyan guide with multiple cultural different tribes that they can even educate you about. When you're in South Africa, there's a local South African guide. When you're in Botswana, they all local guides. So you get to connect with local people, and your guide basically becomes the point person because you get to spend a lot of time with them. And you get to learn about their culture, you get to learn about their way of living, and you get to exchange, points, because they get to learn about your ways of living as well. And perhaps even exchange what are good from your culture to their culture and what's good from their culture to your culture. All of that comes into perspective, especially when you go on a safari with local guides, get to share stories and get to share different rituals and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, in today's world, we juggle into a lot, and sometimes we just need to hit that reset button. And
Absolutely.
and for me, I think going on a safari is gonna do that for you automatically. You're gonna hit that reset button. Like if you had a lot of things going on in your mind, it's gonna go away after you do the safari, and maybe you're gonna see life in a different perspective, because one of the things we don't talk about much, but it's quite a big issue now. It's mental health, and I think that's where
Yes.
this comes in. We do take care of ourselves, as in say, we need to pay our bills, we need to do this, we need to do that, and it's all juggles a lot in our minds, and sometimes we don't get to have time for ourselves, just to 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 think about how beautiful life is. And I think African Safari is gonna remind you of how much beautiful life is, and how you can stop for a moment and continue, because we're always running around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to recap a little bit of things that we talked about in this episode, we talked about the health benefits of going on a safari. Some of the things we talked about: you go on a digital detox, you get in tune with your circadian rhythm. We practice some mindfulness when you're on a safari, especially when you're on those quiet times in between, sightings and things like that. We incorporate some gentle movement, not necessarily multiple days walking safaris, which can be arranged if that's what you're looking for. And, the culinary experiences and the connections that you're going to have with your guides. So, in terms of the safari itself, it's not like a guilty indulgence, but you can plan it as something of a reset, just like what Margaret was talking about. You give yourself a reset, you give yourself time to step away from the busy, day-to-day life that you have. You give yourself, I don't know if it's like a 2-3 weeks of just mindfulness, being present, and thinking about things outside of yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, before we wind up, I just have two things to tell our viewers and our listeners, that one, a safari is a medicine for your mind and soul. Go on a safari. And
Yeah,
number two, your safari is your reset button. So definitely you have to plan your safari, not because it's fun to be in a safari, but it's medicinal to be in a safari.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well put, Margaret. I really appreciate that. Really good. Thanks for joining us on a Safari Scoop.
If you enjoyed today's story, follow the podcast for more moments from the wild to vibrant cultures and stunning shores.
Until next time, stay curious,
Stay inspired, and keep Africa in your heart.